The Pentagon has investigated dozens of extremism cases within its ranks. A new Department of Defense reports says dozens of soldiers were suspected of advocating or supporting the overthrow of the U.S. government. Wow, a soldier in the U.S. Army. Well, that seems concerning. I mean, if you are an anarchist, it's not concerning to you. You don't care. You're like, great, you know. But if you're not, that's a little concerning. The Pentagon has investigated 183 instances of extremism in military ranks, according to a new report, including 78 cases of troops advocating for or engaging in or supporting the overthrow of the U.S. government or seeking to alter the form of the government by unconstitutional or other unlawful means. It's according to a freaking report from the government. The government looked into the government and found this within the government, within the freaking military. The U.S. military has a well-documented extremism problem. People with extreme political ideologies, including white nationalists and white supremacists, have long used the military as a place to recruit and train new talent. A lot of neo-Nazis have turned out to be former Marines. In 2021, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin ordered a 60-day pause across all branches so that they could take time to address the problem. So they paused recruitment. Listen, you don't just pause recruitment for military recruitment if there's no issue here. Now we have a better understanding of how bad the problem is thanks to a new report from the DoD Inspector General called the Annual Report to Congress pursuant to fiscal year 2021 NDAA Section 544. It is an opaque name for a serious topic. Section 554 of the Pentagon's 2021 budget required it to keep Congress informed on how well it's handling some of the Pentagon's problem areas, SA, diversity and inclusion, and responses to supremacist, extremist, and criminal gang activity of a member of the armed forces. The report noted 183 instances, different cases of the Pentagon investigating people over extremism across all branches. This included 14 Army investigators. This included 14 Army investigations into advocating or engaging in unlawful force or violence to achieve goals that are political, religious, discriminatory, or ideological in nature, and 43 Army investigations into advocating, engaging, or supporting terrorism within the United States or abroad. Wow! The problem with extremism in the military is pernicious and, to the troops, obvious. A 2020 Military Times poll survey of 1,630 active duty subscribers found that a third of them had witnessed signs of white nationalism or racism among their fellow troops. The list of pending criminal cases involving extremists with military backgrounds is long. So the long and the short of this is, when I was in the military, I seen a lot of guys who definitely fit this, but it was kind of covert, right? They wouldn't just come out and say it, but they would kind of say it in different ways. They would ask you questions, stuff like, "How do you think the country is ran?" And if you're a black soldier, you know, for certain ideologies, they wouldn't even associate with you, but for certain ones that actually would, yeah, you would hear those questions, man. And you're training these people to be soldiers. The main issue that I saw was the whole white supremacist stuff. You saw that all over the military. But the part that concerned me the most were the upper ranks. I was in Fort Gordon, man. I was training 25 Bravo. That's a military information technology specialist. I never forget, I ran into a major. And that major was having a conversation at a chow hall that was near our little barracks, and it was around the corner. And he was talking to another white soldier. I couldn't see his rank, but I'm assuming he's like a freaking, like a commissioned officer, because usually they don't usually associate with NCOs. And they were having a conversation about black soldiers. And they were saying stuff like black soldiers don't really belong in the army. He was a major. I mean, stuff like that, just hearing it, but then seeing people act on their deep-seated feelings, and you know the reason why they're acting on it, that was a different thing entirely. Even in the military, things were segregated, right? Everyone had their place. Like, I'm not sure if it's still like that now, but I know when I was in, it was definitely like that, especially when I went. It was like that in the active army, but it was especially like that when I went over from the active army to the National Guard, right? It was very much white soldiers go off to their own, black soldiers go off to their own, and a lot of times you would get these higher rank commissioned officers who would be white, who would look out for white troops, and you would get a lot of the higher ranking NCOs, who would look out for black soldiers, and that's how it was. Even in the military, it was segregated, and everyone knew their place. But this doesn't shock me. In fact, to a black soldier, as soon as they hear this, or a black veteran, as soon as they hear this isn't shocking. When you have the VA currently being sued by black veterans such as Conley Monk Jr., black veteran, a black Vietnam veteran who he and his legal team proved at the VA was giving black veterans lower VA ratings and denying them VA coverage and VA benefits and VA compensation at a higher rate than white veterans since I think the year 2002 until 2020, almost 20 years. They proved that in court. And a good bit of VA employees are veterans, but white veterans. Some of the same races you actually served with in the freaking military are now working at the Department of freaking Veteran Affairs. That's why it's not shocking that black veterans are facing disparities that white veterans don't face as often when you adjust the population sizes. That's why. Some of the same discrimination, some of the same lack of promotion, some of the same lack of opportunity, some of the same segregation, some of the same denial of benefits and opportunities that we saw in the service as black veterans and as black service members and as also black service members. We're seeing even after we get out. And then we understand fully the reason why it was like that when we were in. Stuff like this isn't shocking. It's just shocking to the general public because for the longest time, black veterans have been saying this. And what has people been saying? Oh, you must not be a real soldier. You must not really love your country. Oh, those are your battle buddies. Those are your friends. Why would you tell your friends? Because we were being honest about a problem. And now the DOJ, the DoD, and the Pentagon now have to deal with the problem that you were gaslighting black veterans and black service members over for years and years and years. Now you got to deal with it. I got called a racist by a VA patient advocate in Washington State for asking for a black therapist. I put it on TikTok. It went viral. So, that guy served in the military. White guy. See, these are the kinds of things that black veterans have been telling people for the longest time. And now America has been, it's just like my grandma always said, a hard head makes a soft behind. You didn't listen. Well, there's consequences to not listening, as you can see. Yeah. Now you got a little problem with goose steppers. You're supposed to march in a straight line in the military. Well, now you got goose steppers. Goose steppers, if you know what I mean, in the military. Now you got people who are extremists in the freaking military, if you know what I mean. And for what? And for what? This is why when black veterans are telling the American public stuff, it's time to listen. The gaslighting period is over, guys. It's time to listen. It's time to consider that everything that black veterans like myself have been saying for the longest time, especially about stuff like this, has been not only correct, but that you got to go back and see everything that I've said in the past to see how correct I was. The Order of Nine Ankles and other groups who are far right, they have joined the military, and it is well known. Even street gangs have. It is well known. So it gets to the point where I got to ask the question, is America going to wake up to this, or are we going to keep playing games until it's too late? Because these people are in your armed services. So you got your mind to make up.